this is kind of another tack-on addendum to my Phantasy Star Online 2 play. Not really that related to the Phantasy Star Online playing that I was doing. Just kind of attempted an off-the-cuff sort of thing. Because I saw a video, a YouTube video, where it was a critique of the TV show Sherlock. Except what it was an hour-long video, over-hour-long video, about how the show Sherlock is just absolutely the worst. The show is just terrible. An hour-long rant. I couldn't watch the whole thing. It was so silly. But I started watching part of it to see what the guy's problem was. Really, it turned out to be more of a problem with Stephen Moffat, the show's creator. So it quickly divulged into not just Sherlock is terrible, Doctor Who is terrible, everything Stephen Moffat's done is terrible. Just, oh, it's so awful. Everything, Doctor Who, Sherlock, all that stuff is just absolutely terrible garbage. And it was just so over the top.
Glad to see everyone today. We've got our hospitality dial set to 10.
Shut up.
So we hope you have a great time.
Alright, thank you. Anyway, I've had issues, difficulties with writers, creators before myself. I've got mixed feelings about Joss Whedon. Don't like some of his stuff, do like some of his stuff. But again, I'm not going on hour-and-a-half rants about how Joss Whedon is just terrible. Even if I don't like some of his stuff, I recognize that he's quite skilled. I was a big fan of the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's a great little work of satire, of parody is the word I'm looking for. You know, the whole destined hero sort of thing, and it was a great little parody on that. Then he make the show, and it was like, did he forget he was making a parody? I mean, it was played for straight. It wasn't even that interesting. So, a lot of people love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show. It did not appeal to me at all. It was like, what's going on here? Is, you know, there was a great parody movie, and then this show is played straight. And then he made Firefly. Big fan of science fiction. And again, too, it's like he couldn't decide whether he was making a parody or not. Here, it's a science fiction movie, but it's Old West. It's all Old West style, Old West timey science fiction. The spaceship is shaped like a horse. I mean, this would be great satire. This would be perfect if it was done like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie was. But here it was being played absolutely straight. I mean, it was solidly in the milieu of the Xena and Hercules sort of shows, those shows where the show is set up around there's going to be an action sequence, an extended, protracted fight sequence, and the show itself is almost built around it to get us to the fight sequence with the springboards and the extras going through windows and all that kind of stuff. Xena and Hercules did a great job of that. The shows were quite popular. I liked them even too. Didn't really watch them religiously or anything, but I caught them occasionally. And a lot of cheap imitations of it because, well, formula that worked. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of seemed to follow that at times too, and Angel, and, you know, seemed like the show was about, alright, there's going to be a big action sequence, crazy, silly fight sequence, and, you know, Hercules and Xena, that makes sense in a fantasy mythology type setting.
Ladies,
of course that's how they're gonna do their fights.
Be sure to play responsibly.
I shouldn't have come to the casino for this.
If you're having fun, why stop?
How do I drop the balloon? Maybe I don't. I have to wait for it to pop. Anyway, so a lot of cheaper shows. How do I can drop off this balloon? Oh, there we go. And in science fiction shows, there were science fiction shows that did the same thing. After all, I mean, Hercules absolutely did the kind of spin-off science fiction version of Hercules. Kevin Sorbo did as Andromeda, and the thing is that Firefly, again, set up perfectly like it was going to be a parody. And yet, again, they played it for straight. And yet they still had the, well, here's our fist fight in a science fiction setting sort of thing. Like they were doing a Hercules type show, just a science fiction Hercules type show. And I can't believe people like that. It was so ridiculous. I mean, I'd love if there was an actual parody for it here, but they played it perfectly straight. Well, they made the spaceship look like a horse. They did it everything parody style and then played it straight. It just made no sense to me. Then the Marvel movies came along. I thought they were great. I had a lot of fun with them. Don't think they're the best, things ever created, but they're definitely a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed them. So I got kind of a mixed bag with Joss Whedon there. But anyway, going back to this guy's hour-and-a-half rant about how Sherlock is absolutely terrible, and as he points out, I turned down this music too. Still don't know how to do all the settings right for this. But I was talking about how, oh, it's Sherlock. That's how dumb people write smart characters. Dumb people think that intelligence is like magic.
Hello.
And no, Sherlock isn't a smart character. He's a ridiculous, over-the-top, silly character. He's not how smart people are. In fact, if you think that's how smart people are, then I gotta question your connection to reality. He's an over-the-top, ridiculous character. It is supposed to be like magic because what he's doing isn't realistic at all. That's not what the show's about. Pointing out that, hey, that's not how smart people are. No, because Sherlock isn't just a smart character. He's not, oh, this is a dumb person's idea of a smart character. No, this is just an obvious depiction of a magically smart character, if it's really even fair to call his character smart in that regard. Because it's not really. It's really the character, so they're pointing out little nitpicking things like, oh, you couldn't really tell this person was an alcoholic from his cell phone that way. Well, no duh. Part of the rant, you even praising some good shows like House. Guess what? The way they treat illnesses, the medical information in House, isn't accurate either. It's not the point. It doesn't have to be. It's not important, really. That's not the point of the show. The show isn't ruined because the way they depicted this illness and the treatment of it isn't completely accurate. That's not the point. The point of Sherlock isn't that, oh, this telltale sign from that he observed isn't actually accurate to doing this impossible thing anyways. It is an impossible thing. They're depicting something impossible. They're just giving it, kind of the little juicing it needs to be presented as though it's something real happening, when it's something that couldn't really happen. That's not how reality works.
Hello.
Thinking, expecting Sherlock to be realistic like that is silly. It's not again, the root end of the situation. It's not oh, this is dumb people writing smart characters. No, I won't say the writers are smart or dumb, but I will say, if you think Sherlock is an example of a smart character, he's not. He's an example of a essentially magical character. The things he does aren't things that people can actually do. Not just realistically, it's just not possible. And that's the point. He's not presenting as okay, here's just this genius character, let's follow him. Like a lot of TV shows, he's presented as this is an obviously magical type level character, and that's what's going to make the show entertaining. So anyway, some guy got a bug up his butt to complain about that for an hour and a half. So at the very least, I can at least spend 10-15 minutes saying, that's really silly. That's ridiculous. But Doctor Who's a great show. Sherlock was a great show. They have absolutely a lot of little nitpicks to take on it there. They could have put more effort into making the impossible deductions more realistic. best you could pull off is more realistic, because again, it's not meant to be real possible at all. None of it is meant to be possible, because then you wouldn't really have a show, at least not the kind of show they're trying to make. They're trying to make an impossible show, really, of certain impossible sort of things happening. And so, again, who cares if they make it more realistic? It's not what the show's about. It's not the point. So, again, Sherlock is a great show. And again, despite the nitpicks you can definitely find about it, despite the fact that the fantastical elements are in fact fantastical, because that's kind of the point, they got really lucky in that in any sort of TV show, you want to get the best actors you possibly can. The home run, grand slam, knocking out of the ballpark is if you can find actors before they've blown up for being the amazingly great actors that they are. And then you can hire them for cheap and have them in your TV show, and that's exactly what they done. Benedict Cumberbatch, can't remember the name of the actor who plays Watson, both of them started appearing in big movies and in demand for things like big movies as actors, because they're both really great actors. The show got so ridiculously lucky that it got these two actors at a time when they could still afford those two actors. That's ultimately what happened to the show. They couldn't keep actors that were in demand as they quickly rose up to be. They were so amazingly lucky that they got that at all for a handful of seasons that they did get, that even if you can say, well, the show writing ultimately was mediocre at best maybe, they got actors way above what they realistically should have been able to get for a show like that to be in that show. So, kudos there. And in this example of, they did a great job there because they managed to cast people kind of out of the league of regular cheap TV showdom. But that's just my little response here as I run around PSO2 off the cuff attempt at making a little video there. Thank you very much.